think journalism is one of these careers which is fantastic to get into, but it's not the traditional career route for a lot of British Muslims. That could be due to cultural reasons or just community expectations. And I think journalism, it's a brave, bold choice that people have to make if they're interested in it. And I don't think it needs to be that big of a deal. I think journalism is so rewarding. You are making a difference. And I think my advice would be just get involved. It's incredible.
Everybody is nervous whenever they start in any types of industry, but I think journalism is more difficult for young British Muslims because you don't see many of us on screen. You don't see many of us in, the background either, making the news. So it's a little bit intimidating. You get a bit of imposter syndrome. But I think once you get into it, you realize that it's just like any other industry. You just got to show that passion, that commitment, and that resilience. And I think that's what makes you stand out. And yeah, it's been great ever since.
I don't think it was such a conscious choice to enter this field. I think I started in university where I studied English, I enjoyed writing, and it was writing about things that I liked that made me realise that, okay, there are options to make a career out of this. So then I was just searching once I graduated what kind of opportunities there were, and being on my university's newspaper, obviously it's not the same pace, it's not exactly the same thing, but I think it just felt like a natural progression to see what other type of things I could write about.
My worries before joining the journalism industry was that it's quite an exclusive industry, it's not very diverse. There were some recent statistics that said that 80% of journalists are privately educated, they're also overwhelmingly white and male, and I'm none of those things. So I think there was definitely that fear of not fitting in. But also I definitely had that drive to still push past that because diversity and inclusivity are so important. I want to be able to tell stories that reflect my community in a better light than they have been told already. So the worries are always kind of there, but I'm slowly but surely working through them, I think.
And the best way to make sure that we're reaching all the people who we want to talk to is to make sure that we have a diverse workforce. Because having a diverse workforce means that the kind of stories that we'll consider, the angles that we'll discuss, the contributors that we'll want to talk to and interview will be a different pool of people and a much wider pool of people. And that's really important for us. We want to be able to tell people's stories, whatever community they come from, whatever part of the United Kingdom or further afield that they come from. So that's why diversity really matters to us.
I think I was quite worried about the pace of things and whether I would be able to keep up, but it's something that comes along with the job and you can't get to that place until you keep practicing.
Any publication, whether it's print, digital, needs to talk to the audience. And if the audience isn't represented in those reporting, then it's failing on several levels.
One of the brilliant things about institutions like Sky, for example, the BBC, is that they are increasingly welcoming the opinions of people from diverse backgrounds. And I think that should not be underestimated.
I want it not to be a phenomenon. I think want it to be a makeup of the community as a whole. It shouldn't be even thought about whether you're from a different community, whether you're male, whether you're female. You're a reporter first, and you're reporting on everything.
One cool highlight of mine was when I got to travel up to Manchester and Birmingham for filming. I know it's not Dubai or anything, so it's not, going international. But for me, this was my first experience of traveling for work, and I really, really enjoyed it. I got to, go out of my comfort zone, and we were, interviewing really high-profile people. There was a time where the person we were interviewing wasn't answering the question properly, and I could see my colleague was struggling. So I stood up and I was like, do you mind if I, take over and help out? And my colleague was like, go for it. And I got to interview that person, and it was brilliant.
At the Standard, I've had a uniquely positive experience of being able to jump from desk to desk quite freely. I've been introduced to a number of different editors who are happy to let me pitch stories and jump on whatever they're working on. So in that sense, I think I've got such a broad experience just being here, which I'm not sure other papers might even offer. So I think I'm very happy to take away like a wide range of stories, from, like you said, writing to video stories.
I definitely see myself as a journalist in the future. I want to be able to continue telling the stories that I'm passionate about, that other people want to read. I want to be able to help other British Muslims, especially British Muslim women, in the field, because diversity and inclusivity is so important in journalism. It has such a wide reach of millions of people, and that's where a lot of people get their opinions from and get their thoughts about different groups and minorities from. And I think it's a really big responsibility, and also being able to have this job and do this job with empathy is really important. I think that's something that's lacked in the past when it came to British media, and I think there's definitely a new wave of young journalists who care about telling diverse stories and telling them well. So it's an honour to kind of be a part of that community, and I hope to continue that in the future.